Ladies and gentlemen, boy, do we have a freaking show for y'all, man. We got some stuff that we definitely need to talk about. And we're not going to waste a whole lot of time, so why don't we just go on ahead and get it.
Special operation.
We in the building. We in the building. We in the building, bitch. We in the building. We in the building. We in the building. We in the building, bitch. We in the building.
Okay, before we begin, I would just like to say that Billy Mays, you will always be a piece of shit. No matter where you go, no matter what you do, you will always be a piece of shit, Billy Mays. Go fuck yourself. What's going on, Chris? How you doing? Hey, man. Boy, oh boy. Fellas, y'all can go ahead and unmute your mics. We got some stuff to talk about, man. Boy, oh boy.
Oh, wait, can y'all hear me?
Yeah, I got you. I got you loud and clear, Kush.
I bet.
I
So
got
I
you
guess
loud and
quick
clear.
disclaimer before I say anything else, because Pest knows this, but for the viewers, if you hear any weird sounds in the background or whatnot, I'm out in public right now, going home. So I apologize for that first and foremost. But second of all, shout out to Pest for having me on. You already know he had that trash intro playing. Thank God I'm here to save y'all from this man's content.
Hey,
It's all good. And I even managed to get vibes on here as well. I know y'all don't like watching this man's content. And of course, there's a special guest, R0B, here too.
First of all,
that was a great intro.
First of all, R0B is the co-host. R0B is the official co-host of PTA Sports Live. Okay, so you're gonna show my fucking co-host the proper amount of respect. He is not a guest. He lives here. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing is this, Kush. Okay, I know that right now you are out in the streets of New York City, butt naked with a trench coat on, waiting for somebody to flash, okay? I'm not so concerned about that face is terrible. That face is just the worst face I think I've ever seen in my life. That face is down bad.
Pat, come find me, bro. Come find me right here, bro.
Listen, I'm not going nowhere near wherever the hell that's at. Because if you're there, it's not a place I want to be, okay? Let's just go ahead and throw that out there. All right, so first and foremost, I appreciate everybody who's here, everybody in the chat, everybody who's watching this, everybody who is going to watch this in the future. I appreciate all y'all. Thank you so very much. The first thing that I need to do is I need to allow my illustrious co-host to do the thing that he does when we start this show. So let's get this ridiculous shit out of the way first, okay? And then we're gonna go from there. So, Rob, if you will.
Finally,
It's so loud.
R0B and PTA have come back to YouTube. Now, on today's show, we're going to be talking about some Giants news. We're also going to be talking about some allegations and some breaking news that dropped just earlier today. And make no mistake about it, we will have participation from the chat. We will have questions being asked. We will have opinions being said, because without a shadow of a doubt, that is what we are about on this show. And if you have a problem with that, PTA and R0B have no problem whooping your candy asses all over YouTube. If you smell what PTA and R0B is cooking.
I can't do the eyebrows, so I have to just pretend like a. Okay, cool. Hey, thanks for that, Rob. That's always a great way to start the show. It's really not a great way to start the show. It's not at all. But it's so good. Thanks. Thank you very much. Okay, now, first and foremost, I'd like to give a huge shout out to Kush of the Hub. He's a sorry sack of shit on a subway platform, naked in a trench coat, waiting to flash unsuspecting passerbys whatever the phrase of today is. So shout out to Kush, and then shout out to my other partner, Eli Vibes, my guy. What's going on with you, brother? How you doing today?
Man, I'm hanging in there. Thank you for having me, man. I think this is the second time I'm on your platform, so
Yes.
it's always a great time to actually link up with you because I know we do the Twitter Spaces on the New York Giants therapy session. If you guys don't know, now you know.
Yeah.
So thank you for having me, man. It's gonna be great, man. Let's chop it up a little bit.
Yeah, so this is going to be interesting. Okay, first of all, shout out to Seahawks Eddie. I believe that. Okay. Hold on a second. Hey, I'm not professional, so I gotta fix this. However, I can fix this. Boom. We gotta throw in from New York Revival, Mr. Glass Half Full. What's going on with you, sir?
What's going on, fellas?
Yeah.
nice to see you guys, man.
Speed if you nasty, guys. Speed if you
Look at that
nasty.
sexy Rangers.
Look at
hat.
that.
Let's go,
It's
baby. You gotta
sexy as
represent, man.
hell.
You got a 3-2 lead here.
Sexy
But
as
hey,
hell.
listen, I wanted to pop in and just join you guys. Thanks for having me, Pez. And glad to be here and talk some shop with you guys.
Hell yeah. And you're just on time. Okay, we got one more guest. We got two more guests. One guest for sure, and then another potential guest. We'll see when they pop up. Shout out to Seahawks Eddie. I'm doing great. How are you? Derek Rivera. R0B looks like our new O-line coach. Yeah, okay, all right. Billy Mays.
I'm sure as hell not paid like him, I tell you.
Billy Mays is still a sorry fucking piece of shit. I can't stand him. Gentlemen, if you guys can't see the chat, it's because I'm actually using Streamlabs. I'm sorry. So if you want to see the chat, you're gonna have to pull up the actual YouTube page. My apology, fellas, but I should have pre-warned y'all. Okay.
I trust you, and you can relay their thoughts to us.
I always do. Derek likes your Rangers hat, by the way.
Appreciate
Billy Mays is a
And
sorry
it
piece
would,
of
listen,
shit.
Mr. Glass Half Full wouldn't be normal if he didn't have the football with him as well.
Exactly. Gotta be well-rounded.
Got to be switching it around, keeping the hand going. I like it.
So here's the deal, okay? To everyone that's watching this, you're gonna need some beverages for this, okay? We're gonna need some beverages for this conversation because this is a difficult conversation, but it needs to be had, right? And I'm glad that I've got a diverse cast of individuals here to have said conversation, okay? Because there's some very big news that's tied to our head coaching search. Unfortunately, it casts an even darker shadow over the NFL than the shadow that was already cast over top of it. So it's a very unfortunate thing that we're gonna have to talk about, but we're gonna have to talk about it, and we'll get there in a second. The first thing I want to do, the very first thing that I want to do, because I haven't had a conversation with any of these gentlemen since yesterday's press conference. So we're gonna start with Rob. What did you think of the press conference from Brian Daboll? What did you think? What were your thoughts? How did you feel walking out of that?
I like the press conference. I like the fact that it was a kind of different than what we've seen prior. Pat Shermer really wasn't I don't think he was there long enough to really kind of get a grasp for the media to build a relationship with them. We all know that Tom Coughlin really wasn't a very good speaker. He didn't like talking with the media very, very much. And Ben McAdoo, was he really didn't seem like he was too involved anyway. He was very short-tempered. So I like the fact that he came in and was joking around, was cracking jokes. He cracked on some guy named Matt. He's like, "You come in late? Okay." It's something like I like that. And I thought that he brought a different type of energy that you could just tell, like just by watching it, that would be somebody that I'd want to go and I'd want to hang out with, and grab a beer and watch a game or hang out or bullshit with or whatnot. So I like that. Some of the things that he said as far as, not making any promises, not making allegations or setting any type of expectations. I like the way he answered some of those questions. I like the way, his thinking process was as far as his vision on what they want to do, players that they want to bring in. It sounds like he's pretty set in stone as far as the type of the type of organization that they want to be, the type of personality as far as players that they want to be, the way they want to be recognized. And if they're not getting a buy-in from every single player, then they definitely seem like they want to bring people in that fit that mold and that get rid of people that don't. So
Okay.
I was really pleased with the interview, with the press conference. I thought he did a great job, and I'm excited to see, what their moves are going to be and what they do from here.
Okay, cool. So we're gonna get the answer from Kush when he comes back, because he's actually on a subway right now, flashing some people. So he's busy. Eli, what were your thoughts? What were your thoughts on the press conference? Our new head coach. How'd you feel coming out of it? What were some key takeaways for you? Let's just give us your thoughts.
Oh yeah, I mean, just as the same thing we said on New York Revival yesterday when we hosted with entertainers, that we're gonna take everything with a grain of salt, man. We're just gonna go in there and let this whole thing play out, because I reading too much in the press conferences got us on the Joe Judge bandwagon at this point, right? So we was all in awe of what he was saying because we needed that iron fist. But Dayball had a nice, good press conference, showed his personality a little bit. So, I'm just going to take it with a grain of salt. I see the product on that field, and let's pretty much go from there. I'm not too excited, but at the same time, I'm optimistic. I'm really looking forward to the future at this point. So, just going to take it for how it is.
No, hey, you know what? I don't blame you for having that opinion. I don't like blame you for feeling that way, like, at all. Like, I totally get it. Okay, Mr. Glass half full. What are your thoughts?
That's a nice little entrance right there.
Hey, listen, that's what I'm gonna do every time I see you now. So.
I'm hyped now. I'm hyped. But seriously, coming off a Judge, I just felt like Dable he didn't feel salesman-like. You know what I'm saying? He didn't feel like he was going by a skit. He was just going out there being his genuine ass self, and that's what I respect about it. He was cracking jokes left and right. Nothing crazy, not like he prepared these jokes.
Mm-hmm.
It was just off the cuff,
right?
And everything was off the cuff, and that's what I loved about him. Everything seemed natural. Listen, I know I fell for Judge, and I'm not gonna fall for this again, but you still have to check the box as he's able to handle the New York media. It looks like he took on all the questions. He didn't fall for any bait. He answered some tough ones, about who sticking with Daniel Jones, and he made some declarative statements without saying enough that's gonna come back to bite him. So I gave it a solid A, man, right down the fairway. It's not A plus, not gonna wow anybody, but I felt good about it, and I feel good about this guy going forward. And he's like, listen, you try to the one guy tried to bait him in with the Bengals, turn everything around in like 1 or 2 years. He's like, listen, I'm trying to just put my staff together, man. Like, I'm not going to give you a prediction about how we're going to the playoffs or Super Bowl next year. Like, let the man just live a little bit, let him breathe, and let's see what he could do. So I'm excited, man.
Okay. All right. Cool. I feel like shout out to Nate Talks Football is in here. Thank you very much for pointing out how good my beard looks, man. I'm very happy with it. Listen, Eli. You don't stand a chance against this beard. I just want you to know that, Eli.
He's coming for your beard, Eli.
I'll tell you this, man. I'm looking for that competition, but mine's is so luscious and
you don't
so
stand
nice.
a chance.
I don't know if you can keep up. It's nice and soft too.
Listen. You had a head start on the beard game, okay? All right, but I'm getting ready to catch you. Listen, this bad boy it stays nice and oiled. It gets conditioned. You know what I'm saying? Little detangler, the whole 9 yards, man. We taking good care of the beard. Yeah,
listen, Eli's getting prepared 2 hours before the Revival show, putting like coconut oil and butter in his beard, brushing it.
He probably
making
is.
sure it's nice and fluffy. It's looking good.
He probably is.
And it's like, sooner or later they're going to start taking ad breaks.
See, listen, but see,
Listen, shout out.
making sure it looks good.
Shout out to anybody that got that beard balm, that want me to put it on, my beard a little bit live for you. No problem. Just email us, man, at the nyrevival@gmail.com.
Hey,
we got
listen,
you. We got you covered.
Taking on all sponsors.
Hey, listen, yeah, you know what I'm saying, and listen, you know what I mean. We got some beers around here, so we need it. We need it. But appreciate Nate for that. Where you hiding is up in the building. What's going on, Joe? What's going on, you handsome son of a bitch? Ash, I see you, Ash. Like what's up, Ash? What's up? I'm trying to figure out why you're not in here right now, Ash. That's what I'm trying to figure
Ash
out.
money.
Same thing with Nate. I'm like, why are y'all not here right now? I don't have to invite y'all.
I'd like to throw a question out to everybody, kind of get everybody's thoughts. Obviously after the press conference, there was some talks from Joe Shane about, Kevin Abrams, and as far as like some salary cuts, he wants to free up about $40 million and stuff like that. So I'd like to get your guys' thoughts, PTA, if you want to go first, in regarding to how, Joe Shane explained, Kevin Abrams and, how he's been doing.
Mm-hmm.
Do we feel like maybe he is a good fit and he was just kind of getting overshadowed by Dave Gettleman's bad decisions and he was taking a good rap for that because Joe Shane was giving him a lot of praise? And as far as what Joe Shane, said about, clearing up at least 40, maybe he didn't mean to say that, but $40 million in cap, what were your thoughts on that, those comments?
Yeah. So him keeping Abrams made sense. It makes sense, right? Because when you come in here and you look at this cap situation, you look at these contracts, and you guys know me, I'm not a contract guy, I'm not a cap guy, I don't know nothing about it, I don't pretend like I do, okay? But if I was coming into a situation, right, and where I was at, books were involved, okay? So for those who don't know, Hefe! What's up, brother? For those who don't know, like the books are what you keep your finances in. So I will send the link out. I'll send the link out. I got y'all. You guys, you will all get links. Hefe, I got a link coming to you. I want to hear your thoughts on all this stuff too. So okay. It's always smart. Like if I'm coming into a business, I want to speak to the guy who keeps the books, right? That's like one of the first things I want to do. If we're in a you know what, my kid from 1738, fuck off, okay? I don't know why. First of all, I don't know why you found me. Secondly, I don't know why you're stalking me. I didn't want to be your dad then. I don't want to be your dad now. Just get the hell out of here, okay, kid? Stop it. Okay. Anyway, so I thought that keeping Kevin Abrams was a good move, okay? Because you want the guy who knows what the books look like. So I wasn't like jumping out the window over that. Like when they said he was going to keep Abrams, I was like, okay, cool. How long you keeping Abrams though? Like, are you gonna keep him for forever, or are you gonna keep him for this offseason, right? Because at the end of the day, he knows the books. And they want to clear $40 million in cap, which is just mind-boggling to me, having to go into a situation needing to clear $40 million in cap. That's ridiculous, right? We should all be kicking Dave Gettleman in the peanuts right now. Like, we should be kicking the shit out of this man for what he did to this organization. But glass half full. What are your thoughts?
I mean, listen. This is the one move that gave me a little pause because you're like, all right, did Mara just say this is the one guy you gotta stick with? I don't know, but I'll say this about Shane: he hasn't made as many front office changes as I would like to see just yet. But I think it's too close to the draft for where he's trying to just. I think he's gonna ease his way into this thing. It sounds like he's gonna ease his way in and at least wait till the draft to see what comes of that because. Apparently, Abrams was the mastermind behind trading back last year, so he does have some kind of say in the draft. So I'm going to wait on this, but I will say in regards to the contracts, I think Abrams is a good contract guy. I think he had two GMs now that were desperate at the end of their jobs to try and save their asses from bad drafts, and he's like, just make it happen, Abrams. We're signing these guys. I don't care how it happens.
Yeah.
Just get them in the building.
Yeah.
And he went and overspent, and I think he was a victim of that. So I'm going to give him another chance here. I think Shane's going to give him a chance, and I think Abrams knows what he's doing. He's getting demoted. He even said, "I'll take a demotion."
Yep.
Which is huge. It says that he wants to stick around, and it's going to say to Shane like, "Hey, I'll do whatever it takes to get this organization back to the top." So. I'm going to give him a little pass, and I'm excited to see. I'm putting my faith in Shane here. I'm just riding with him and see what he does.
Okay. All right. What do you think, Eli?
Listen, I mean, I said this all along, especially if whoever follows my Twitter handle, that I've heard great things about Kevin Abrams. Even when they were talking about firing Dave Gettleman and they wanted to bring in another GM, and I said I wouldn't mind Kevin Abrams. I really didn't after all the research and the feedback that I got from him. But you guys have to understand that yes, he is a mastermind of doing certain things, but as far as the cap situation, we was in cap hell going into the season this year. And he figured out a way to actually sign a Kenny Golladay, whether you guys think he's a good signing or not. A Dory Jackson, whether it's a good signing or not. Leonard Williams. We was all rooting for these guys to join our team, and they made it happen. So, of course, when the press conference happened with Dave Gettleman and himself, they said they had a plan to get out of the cap situation that they're in now. So, of course, Joe Shane heard the plan, obviously, and is comfortable with the cap situation going into this season, knowing that they can clear some cap space to get other players or whatever the case is. So, you got to understand this is the plan. I trust Joe Shane and his ability to pick the people around him to make him successful. And again, Kevin Abrams isn't a bad pick, whether on the contrary of what fans say. I know we poke fun at it, but if you really do the research and dig, it's not a bad hire of keeping him. And the fact that he wants to get demoted to stay as a New York Giant, that just shows the dedication of him trying to get this right and to clear his name, that he could be something great in this league. So keep him. I don't mind that at all. And I stick by that.
Okay.
I don't mind.
All right, cool. Shout out to Stan. Thank you very much for the congratulations. Wow, this is my first stream as a no shit civilian. Oh, that's pretty damn cool. So thank you very much, Stan. I appreciate you. John Schwert. That's a weird ass fucking name, but what's up to you? How you doing? Big Blue in the Bronx in the building. Constipated PTA. I'm not constipated right now. Everything's coming out quite well, so I'm not sure what's going on with that. Sword and Mayhem is in the building. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate you. Thank you for giving me that. Congratulations, man. Yeah, that's pretty damn cool. Okay, so I have a very, very quick question. I just want a quick answer, and then we can get to the meat of the potatoes of this conversation. So we know that in order to clear $40 million in cap space, there's going to have to be some cuts. Who is the one player not named like Thomas or Jones or McKinney or the some of the marquee players, but what's one player? What's going on, Blue City Empire Sports? What's one player that if they were not here next year, you would be disappointed? Just one player, not a big name player, but just one person that if they don't make it onto this squad next year, you're going to be like, damn, I really wanted him to be on this team. Go ahead, Rob.
I mean, for me, I'm leaning towards Blake Martinez. For me, we haven't had a middle linebacker of that caliber that can lead that defense since Antonio Pierce. Being a leader from the linebacker standpoint, really knowing how to get the defensive linemen in the right positions, what gaps to shoot, this and that. I think Tate Crowder struggled, when Blake Martinez went down. I think our run defense struggled when Blake Martinez went down. And then as the season went on and Tate got a little bit more comfortable and understanding, and I think once Blake actually started getting back into the facility, getting at the practices, meeting up with him, working with him and stuff like that, you saw Tate Crowder kind of take, another step as far as, really being the good signal caller, moving guys into the right gaps, good in pass coverage, good in run blockage as well. So, or run stop. So Blake Martinez, to me, I think would be the one that I would want to come back. If he's not back, I'll be a little bit disappointed in that just because I feel like he's a valuable piece to that defense and I'd like to see him coming back.
Joe threw out a good name, and this was what I wanted. This was what I wanted, and Hefe threw out a good name too. Joe says Tate Crowder. Tate Crowder is someone who could be a cap casualty because he's not expensive. Hefe says Darnay Holmes. I don't think Darnay Holmes is going anywhere. I don't
No chance.
I don't think Darnay Holmes is going to go anywhere. But yeah, I could totally see. Look at Fish Vegas in the damn chat. What's going on? Judas Vegas is in here. Hopefully he's gonna be hopping in to talk with us here in a little bit.
Especially
if Chinese food are here, man.
Especially if I mean, we all know James Bradbury is potentially on the chopping block, so I don't see them getting rid of Darnay Holmes. They would keep Darnay and over James Bradbury, I think, just because of the upside.
Right.
And the youth as well.
100%. That's another point.
And for me, the more I've thought about it, the more I'm comfortable getting rid of James Bradbury. Originally, when I looked at this offseason, that was one guy I really didn't want to move on from, because I look at him and I still see a guy that could potentially have a lot of good football left. I think he's a guy that still has the ability to play at a really high level at that corner position. But coming into a new regime now, and like Shane said, trying to clear $40 million in cap, that's just not really a risk you can take on. Was it one bad year, or was it the beginning of stepping off a cliff? So when you look at him, and then you look at Aaron Robinson, who coming into the end of last season, going down that stretch, after missing a lot of time early, played pretty solid football. The critiques I had of him was his ball skills suck. He needs to get better at winning the end of the route, but he's right there in the hip, on the hip pocket of every receiver he's covering 90% of the time in man coverage. He's looking really good in coverage. I like that in an aggressive corner, because coming out, that's what we saw in him. We saw a guy that could play press, that could be physical with receivers at the line, and that's something I still think he can do. So with that as backup, and then with the young talent we have at the corner position, because we still have guys behind them that could potentially take a shot, like a Rodarius Williams, like if Darnay Holmes needs to play outside, maybe he can. I think that makes a guy like James Bradbury potentially replaceable.
Indeed.
Okay,
a guy like Aaron Robinson reminds me a lot of Charles Tillman. Physical guy, good at the line, good run stuff, physical up at the line, can press you, stick with you. I mean, Charles Tillman didn't really have the greatest ball skills, but I think that he resembles his skill set very, very well.
So there's a few good names being thrown out here by chat. So John, who wants me to call him Reverend, so I'll call you Reverend. That's kind of weird, right? Just
shout out to the Reverend. I know who that is. Shout him out.
He said you know who he is. I don't feel comfortable calling a stranger Reverend. I feel like he's gonna take me in the back and bend me over a pew, and I don't want that problem. But anyway, he says think it has to be Roche. I like Roche, and I think Roche should stay here. And then we've got Blue City Empire Sports. He says Caden Smith and Dante Pettis. Now, I don't really know about Dante Pettis. Maybe Caden Smith, but I don't know if Dante Pettis has a role here.
I'm middle of the road on those guys.
Yeah,
For me, when I think of the question you're asking, I don't really think that's the point, because those are guys we aren't paying anything to.
Yeah,
It doesn't really matter if we're keeping them around.
Yeah, well, I mean, but the question is who is the player that you specifically want to keep? That's not a big name player.
Yeah,
so I mean, a Caden Smith,
enough,
a Dante Pettis, a John Ross. John
Ross needs to be on this team next year.
Those are names. Yeah, those are names where it's like, okay, yeah, that could be a good name. Glass half full. Who's the one player that you want to keep here? That's not a big name player.
It really sucks, because I love Sterling Shepard, the person, and I love that what he does for the locker room, and I love that because I think he would be a dominant slot guy if he could just fucking stay healthy for one season, man. Again, it's really killing me, but I think he's going to be the unfortunate cut here.
Yeah.
And it's a shame, because I think Tony can be the outside guy like a Tyreek Hill, and I think Shepard would still be a good slot guy for this team. But I think he's going to be he's just making too much money. So unless they could find a way to restructure his not restructure, just rip up his contract and redo it.
Yeah.
I think it's the only way he sticks around. I wish they can cut Logan Ryan, to be honest with you, because I think he's toast. But
yeah, absolutely.
His contract is not really the greatest to cut this year, which sucks. And so for me, I'd hate to see Shepard go, but I think he's gonna have to, or just totally redo his contract.
And
Logan is restructurable. He is restructurable.
But do you want to do that? Do you want to kick
right?
that
Is Logan Ryan willing to do that at this point? At this point in his career?
Okay.
Well, I think he might, but let me ask this: I mean, last year obviously Logan Ryan played pretty well. This year, he had COVID, and we didn't see the same type of production. I think from a defensive standpoint, I think the lack of offensive production really wore down on the defense, and we didn't really play very well on
as a whole.
Due to that, I could see Logan Ryan potentially being like a Micah Hyde type of player for this defense, kind of maneuvering him out, maybe staying in the mid-level, whereas Xavier McKinney is your deep guy. He's the guy that's
Wait.
covering deep. He's the guy that's taking away those outside
There we go.
routes, coming up in run coverage if we need to.
See, personally, I just kind of don't think so.
Okay,
I look at Logan Ryan, and I'll disagree to disagree here. When I look at Logan Ryan, I just think he's gone.
Wait.
We can't hear you. Oh, I was about to say.
Wait. Can y'all hear me? Can you hear me?
Very faintly, yes.
Very faintly. What? I don't know why that's.
I'm not used to you not being very loud, so this is weird for me.
Is this better? Is this better?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Hold on a second. Because we don't have a whole lot of time, right? We only got a few more minutes with a couple of our guests, so I really want to get their opinions on the main topic. I understand everybody's kind of going off on the current conversation, but I know that some people's time is limited. So first and foremost, we all know that currently Brian Flores has submitted documentation for a court case, a civil case to sue the NFL, to sue the Miami Dolphins, to potentially name the Giants in this, even though I don't think it's going to stick. And essentially what his gripe is that he was treated unfairly in Miami, and then he quickly was fired. And smear campaign happened, and the hiring process for him was not done appropriately in his eyes. Okay, we all know that there is the Rooney Rule. We all know that the NFL is, if you're an organization in the NFL, you have to interview a black candidate for all major front office and coaching positions. So we all know that. But now this is a situation that really puts a spotlight on the Rooney Rule, the way the NFL is handling hiring coaches and front office members of minorities. It's really putting a spotlight on it. Now, I'm going to start with Eli, and I'm going to go to glass half full because I know you two, your time is limited. Shout out to everybody in the chat. I really appreciate you. Eli. First, I want to know what your thoughts is on the situation, and then I want to know what your thoughts are on the Rooney Rule. Go.
I mean, kind of the same thing we kind of addressed on New York Revival yesterday, but as far as the situation, could there be something there regarding Brian Flores? Absolutely. It could be something there, right? But it's just really hard to tell the validity of this case. It's so many things that are actually there as far as the New York Giants is concerned. I don't see any validity, and I'm just going to stick with the Giants. I don't see anything or seeing the Giants being penalized for violating that particular rule. Could Miami, could Denver? Sure. I mean, just reading some of the documents that are there and some of the evidence that was submitted on those documents, maybe there is some sort of collusion or whatever the case is there. As far as the Rooney Rule, it's flawed. It's a flawed system. It isn't. That's, if you want to call that a racist, that rule could be that, because again, you're forcing people to interview minority candidates, and and here's the thing, and I think it's the craziest rule, because I think you should just hire your guy and do what you got to do and move on. But it can be racist because now you're forcing someone, because you already got your guy that you want, but you have to interview that black guy no matter what. That's racist and a waste of time within itself. It's wrong. Something has to be done. If you want a complete change, then have an organization, no matter what, has to hire at least one black coordinator on either side of the ball. Or after a certain amount of time, you got to hire a black head coach. If you want to have that dramatic change, do so. But this thing will always be flawed. I don't like it. Should they revisit it? Sure. But you're kind of forcing someone to do something that they're not comfortable of doing, and no matter what, you're just a number as a black man. I'm not going to give my full, go at it if I know I'm just a quota.
Right.
So the Rooney Rule has to be addressed.
Right.
I don't like it, but it is what it is. I guess it's there for a reason. I get it, but it's just a flawed system, and it's terrible.
Okay. All right. Glass half full. Now let's get your perspective.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the premise behind the whole rule was, I understand what they were going for, but it's fallen way flat, and it needs to be revamped. There's smarter people than me that know how to fix this or can try to fix it, but I'm not going to go ahead and throw all these cockamamie things at you guys, but I think we all know that it's flawed. I think the Giants are kind of really blameless in this whole situation, and the only reason why they're on this report is because they're the last team to interview Flores, and it was just they're just in the mix right now. Just because, if you're hating something, hate the rule itself, because the only reason why the Giants had why the Giants are even in this conversation is because of the rule itself. But they interviewed Frazier twice. They interviewed Graham. They interviewed Flores. Listen, if this was up to Mara would have hired Flores. So if we were doing things the old way, that's the whole ironic thing about this whole thing, is if we were doing it the old way, Mara would have had Flores because he's loved him. I don't think it was a charade. I don't think he would go that far. He's not that calculated. And
Speed, let me say this, Speed, as well, is that the fans wanted a hands-off approach. The hands-off approach is letting Joe Shane pick his guy, because it was reported that he did want it Flores as far as Mara. So as far as suing the Giants, it's just totally off base in my opinion. But go ahead, brother. I'm sorry.
I mean, listen, and I'll just end with this: the only way the Giants will get screwed here is if there's a text from the Giants to Dable saying that you're hired before they even interviewed Flores. Which if that was available, I think that would have been out there by now. I think it's a bunch of bullshit. I think Belichick, it was being Belichick. He had an old person.
He's an old guy that doesn't know how to use a telephone.
Right. He had a senile moment, exactly. And he never said that Dable was even hired. He just says, he was trying to break news or
he says it looks like it's gonna be you.
Right. There's nothing that ties the Giants in. The Rooney Rule is terrible. They gotta fix it. We all know that. It's a sham. And that's my 2 cents on the whole thing. I think they got to revamp the whole thing.
Okay, so
just one more thing.
Go ahead,
How can it be flawed, right? If they already interviewed, Leslie Frazier, and Patrick Graham, I believe, was after that.
I was getting ready to. That's what I was getting ready to say. That's exactly what I was getting ready to say. Is that
so they didn't really have to interview Brian Flores. I think there was some legitimate interest there. I really think so.
Right? Why couldn't they just listen? They had their favorite. And why couldn't they just want to hear what Flores had to say? They're like, if he blows our doors off, we'll hire him. He didn't blow their doors off. They went with their guy.
Right.
Why can't it be as simple as that?
So I'm right in line right now with both Mr. Glass Half Full and Vibes. And what up, Glass? I didn't get to say hi earlier because train whatnot.
He was too busy flashing people on the train. When you first popped up in here,
he was on the subway with his bananas again.
The thing is, your jokes fall flat when we could barely hear you say them. I'm sorry to inform you of this.
That's facts.
I mean,
listen, second of all,
listen, I got the damn microphone over here, right?
It's like you see his mouth moving, but you can't hear what he's saying.
Are you serious? Y'all can barely hear me, like for real?
Yeah, bro. It's like
it's still going in and out.
But when you start talking, it sounds like you're getting far away from your mic, and then you're going back.
This is so weird. I don't know why it's doing that, but okay, cool.
Yeah, like I was saying, I'm with both of them there on what they're saying. The last point that they brought up, and obviously we can only speak on the Giants. We can't speak for Miami. We can't speak for Denver. Although I will say, from the beginning of this entire head coaching search, I had a feeling, and I put that feeling out there, that I thought stuff that was coming out of Miami had to be a little bit exaggerated, because there was that one lie that got very popular and went viral that he straight up told Tua that he should have drafted Mac Jones. That was a straight lie, and a lot of people were, perpetuating it on the internet as if it was truth and, it was an actual quote. So just off of that alone, I told myself, if that was a lie, I'm going to say a good amount of these things are either exaggerated or maybe they're not being reported as fact. And it's kind of looking like that because, they who was it? What role of the Dolphins tried to bribe him into losing games and he didn't do it?
I believe that was the owner, Stephen Ross.
I believe that was the owner.
The owner of the team tried to bribe this man into losing games. And it's hilarious because we were all questioning how much did Brian Flores really have to do with that winning streak. And I'm going to be honest with you, after that bribe news came out, I believe he had everything to do with that winning streak. I 100% believe that he's the reason that the Dolphins went on a 7-game winning streak towards the end of the season, which is incredible in of itself as a head coach. Now, to get to the Giants, right, you guys already brought up the biggest fact here that supports the Giants and kind of goes against this whole civil case, which is that if we interviewed you just as a quota, it makes no sense because we already fulfilled that quota 2 times over with Leslie Frazier and Patrick Graham.
Exactly.
That's another thing I noticed as well. While we were conducting all of these interviews with all of our head coaching candidates, I noticed Flores was the last one, or one of the last ones that we interviewed. Like we got Dable and Frazier in and out the building really, really quickly. That they were the first 2. Patrick Graham was somewhere in the middle, and then Brian Flores was all the way towards the end. So just off of that alone, I feel like for the Giants case, it should fall flat. I will say this though, not to re-say too many things. The Rooney Rule is very stupid. I thought it was always kind of stupid thing to have, and especially when you hire a new GM that already has in mind who they want in a head coach.
Yeah.
And then that head coach will also have in mind who they want as a coordinator. And that last part I brought up last week on both the Young Guns and Just Chillin', my two podcasts, where I was like, this whole thing with Ken Dorsey, right? Because that's when I found out that the Rooney Rule extended into coordinators. I didn't know that until last week. I was like, this makes a rule that I personally view as stupid. You could come at me however you want with that. It makes a rule that I already viewed as stupid even more stupid, because a head coach almost always has a guy in mind that they want as a coordinator, right? A GM, sometimes it's here or there, but of course they have to conduct a coaching search. They have to cast a wide net to see who would be the best candidate. But when it comes to things like that, I was like, we all know that Dable for sure has his eye on Dorsey. Now, of course, that didn't pan out, but if it panned out, what then? Are we going to have a case for that as well? It made no sense to me. So, and Vibes brought it up, right? If a guy is entering that interview knowing that they're just a quota, why in the world would they give their full effort? They're just going to show up there to show up. Like, it's an insult to them. It's an insult to everything they stand for, and it's an insult to the people that are conducting the interview as well, because everybody's just there for a sham. Now, one thing I will add on before I end it off here, and I guess Nate or Rob will go, because I'm not sure who went before I pop back in, is that I did bring up a concern about this last week on the two podcasts I mentioned, where I was like, the Giants really do seem, I'm not going to say they're completely blameless, because we don't know all the information at the end of the day. So I'm not going to say the Giants are completely blameless, even though I do think they shouldn't, really even be involved with this. The way they conducted their GM search rubbed me the wrong way. And I've said this on those streams before, where I was like, the fact that ESPN thing came out when it came out and then was proven to be true, and I don't think that was a mistake, because the same thing happened with Kenny Galladay last year, if you guys remember. ESPN on their transactions page had Kenny Galladay listed as signing with the Giants about a week before it happened, just like this year they had Joe Schoen being the Giants general manager a week before it happened. I don't think that's a coincidence. I don't think that's a mistake. I think it was just updated early, or something slipped up. I'm currently studying data sciences and database management, so I can tell you for a fact mistakes like that, they do happen even at big levels like the NFL.
They sure do.
So that is something I believe that happened, which means, and that's why I had a problem with the Giants general manager search, even though I like the GM we ended up with. It means that the GM search in my eyes was a complete sham, because that was a week before we did any other interviews with anybody else, and that is a problem to me. Forget the race part of it. It's just a problem because you're actually not seeing who's the best candidate. You have somebody in mind and you're sticking with it and you're going forward. And that's a problem just when it comes to getting the best candidate for any job. And it's a problem the Giants have been facing for 10 years. And we could get into that as much as we want. And so I really, because I knew that in the back of my mind, I did start to think the same thing with the coaching search. Although I don't believe it was that, because we actually got interviews done. And it looks like we're getting interviews done with the offensive coordinator search. So if, a really good lawyer, I would say this, a really good lawyer would point to the GM search and that ESPN thing. I'm just putting that out there, and they could find a way to work that in. But that's what I got to say. Let me hear your thoughts.
Okay, so but wait, hold on a second, Nate. Hold on a second, because I know that Eli and Glass Half Full, you both need to slide out, correct?
I got about 5 more minutes. I can chill. I want to hear you guys talk.
I got another 5 for you. Don't worry.
Okay, cool. All right, great. So I just because I want to let you guys talk as much as possible on this. Let me just get my very quick thoughts out there. Okay. I also think that the Rooney Rule doesn't work. Okay, like it just doesn't. It basically forces, and this is already said, it basically forces a team to have to interview someone other than the person they actually want. We know it's a sham. We know that the people that come in, at least the first black guy to come and interview for a spot, he in the back of his mind, he's like, is this a Rooney Rule interview? Like, is that what this is? Because if it is, I'm just gonna go half-assed and get the hell out of here. So I do think that the Rooney Rule needs to go. But I will acknowledge this, okay? There are a lot of really, really talented black or Hispanic or Asian or any other ethnicity you want to think of, right? There's a whole lot of really, really talented people within the NFL right now that should be in a better position that they're not in, and there's a reason for it. And I don't quite know what the reason for it is, right? Is it because it's a good old boy network? Is it because it's one of those situations where it's not what you know and it's not who you know, it's who knows you? Maybe, right? Maybe. But there is a problem. And I will always say that there is a problem in regards to black people or Hispanic people or non-white people getting some of these opportunities. Now we can always point to the onesie twosies, right? Pittsburgh's has a black head coach. He's been there forever. The New York Giants won 2 Super Bowls with a black general manager. We've had tons of successful black coaches throughout the history of the league. But is it enough? And if it's not enough, why haven't there been more? That's a question that we're probably never going to get the answer to, but it's a question that I would like to know the answer to, is why not more? Like why not more? Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be because someone's racist. I think we use that word incorrectly anyway, right? If you look up the definition of race, it has to do with superiority. And I don't necessarily think that there's a lot of people in the NFL walking around thinking, I'm better than you because my skin looks like this and your skin looks like that. I don't think that's what it is, right? But I will say that there's an issue, and this issue needs to be addressed. It needs to be addressed.
So let me just respond to that real quick. So first off, in terms of Flores specifically, before I get to the Rooney Rule, I think there is so much more information and specifically evidence that's going to come out on this in the next probably few days, even into the weeks. And apparently there's more coaches that are going to be on this same bus. So I'm not going to speak on that specifically yet because there's already contradictions being made. The Broncos are saying it's flat out lies. There's stuff from the Dolphins saying some stuff isn't true. The Giants have been denying it the entire time, and it doesn't even seem, from our perspective, like that stuff is true anyway. So I'm not going to speak on Flores specifically because I'm not in the business of talking out of my ass about stuff I don't know. So I'm not going to try and say something I don't. But in terms of the Rooney Rule, here's my thing on this. I agree with everything you're saying. I think the Rooney Rule is the most NFL example possible of seeing a problem like Pest is talking about and having a ham-fisted solution for it and having no subtlety or grace in trying to deal with the problem. And by the way, speaking of which, Colin Kaepernick, Rooney Rule, Washington football team. How many more of these until Roger Goodell's fired? But that's a whole other conversation for another time.
Right? God damn it, Nate.
Let's not get too far into that.
God damn it,
Nate. To distract us here.
You're so
we can talk
right.
about that later.
You're so right,
for
though.
Now, I can't hear you. Can you guys hear Pest right now?
You're so right.
No.
You can't
No,
hear me
okay.
again?
Okay,
So
we'll talk about that later.
I see the chat saying they hear him. Pest is running 2 different programs. So you guys will always hear him, but we can't hear him.
So,
okay.
seriously,
Got it.
still right now, can't hear me? Can't hear me at all? Can't hear
As
me
you
right
get
now?
closer to the
now.
mic, we hear you.
Okay, so you can hear. So this
Then, yeah.
This motherfucker's gonna be right here. Okay, y'all gonna see me
That's
talking
fine.
to this goddamn microphone because I'm sick of y'all not being able to fucking hear me. Okay, cool.
All right. Anyway, though, moving on. Past the Goodell thing, we can table that for a minute here. My thought on the Rooney Rule is this. I think as much as there does need to be a solution, and the NFL absolutely needs to be an active part of that, I think the NFL is never going to be able to find a solution that works and fix this problem as long as they're trying to actively police who teams are hiring. It's just not going to work. If you think the league is going to be able to strong-arm these owners, you are wrong. It's the other way around. We know how these things work. So for me, I think if you have any sort of rule or system where you're the league and you're trying to force teams into hiring anyone except the guy they want to hire, you're going to run into problems. So for me, I look at that and I say that the Rooney Rule was doomed to fail from the beginning. This was the inevitable end to that start. Mm-hmm. So I look at it, and Pest is talking about what's the root of the problem. To me, I think the root of the problem is less about how quickly or if black coaches get hired. I'm going to make the mistake of saying black when I mean minority. That's my bad. But it's less about, to me, that aspect of it and more of the underrepresentation in general. Because if you look at it, it's not just that minority coaches get fired or don't get hired in the same way. There's just so much less of them in the league overall. Coordinator positions, position coaches, everything. And as with everything else in the NFL, it all is coming up from the college game. So when you're looking there, I think if you look deeper, that's going to be the root of your problem. And when you have better minority coaching talent coming up, I think this is going to be the same situation as black quarterbacks. I think when you look at that, for the longest time, the ignorance and the bias said the black man can't play quarterback. But at the end of the day, teams may be stupid, but the league is getting smarter, and racism isn't smart. When these teams see that the best way forward is, say, Brian Flores, we'll take him as an example. Let's say the Houston Texans, because Brian Flores has just completely given up on being an NFL coach in pursuit of defending himself here, but let's say he hadn't. If the Texans are looking at their head coaching situation right now, they are looking at Brian Flores and no one else. They're going to say, what's the best way forward for my team? What's the best way to win games? And if that's how they're approaching it, it's going to be Brian Flores. And there's a lot of bias in the league. There's a lot of prejudice. That stuff is still there, to be sure. We can see it. But at the same time, eventually, the same thing that happened with black quarterbacks is going to happen with black coaches. They're going to see the numbers, they're going to see the performance, and they're going to say, I want to win football games. Or, in a lot of cases, I want to make money. How do I make money? Win football games. Have a better team, make the playoffs, make the Super Bowl. And they're going to say, what's the best way to do that? And in a lot of cases, like the Texans right now, if Brian Flores was still available, it would be hire the black coach. And at the end of the day, your solution is not an active one from the NFL. If the NFL is going to be involved with it, which it absolutely should be, their goal should be getting more involvement in minorities in coaching from the ground up, not starting at the CEO position, starting from the bottom and working your way up. There's just not enough representation in position coaches and coordinators, and all that's coming from college. And I can tell, glass half full, you got something to say. I've been rambling, but please go ahead.
No, I agree what you're saying, but I'm going to take a little bit opposite approach here. And this is the last thing I'll say before I leave. And thank you guys again for having me on.
We appreciate you for being here, man. Thank you.
I think it starts from the head, and I think the head is black ownership. I think it's got to start there because you don't see enough black ownership, and then they are going to bring on bigger changes with what they do. And I think that you got to have that in order to because again, like you said, there's no right way to fix this right now. That you can't force a coach on a staff that or ownership that doesn't want them. So give black owners the ability to get into the NFL. I don't know if they're getting strong-armed out of there. I don't know if they're trying enough, but I think once you see more black owners, you'll see more black coaches, more throughout the staff, and I think they'll perpetuate from there. That's just my opinion.
And
again,
I've been yelling.
Just to respond to that real quick, Pest, let me just respond to that.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
So I 100% agree. If you get more black ownership in the NFL, a lot of those changes are going to happen much faster. My question to you is this: how do you achieve that?
But whoa. There are so many very, very wealthy black people walking around this planet.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay?
Sure,
there are so many. So you can't sit here.
I don't know if they're. I don't know if the NFL is
right.
You hit the nail on the head. Are they trying to?
Are they
into the
trying
business of
to
the
get
NFL,
in?
Or is it a locked business? Again, we don't know. This is all be speculation.
Yeah,
and
like
conversation.
that's
but
true.
The one thing that you got to say that yes, there has to be some sort of black ownership, but it's just when.
I've been screaming
can
for
they
it.
get there? And that's something those wealthy black folks or those minorities will have to step in the forefront and say, "This is what I want to do." Not Diddy, not Diddy. I don't want to hit Diddy. You know what I mean? But I'm talking
It
about.
can't be Diddy. It can't be
I'm
Jay
talking about
Z.
some real game changers
yes.
that can come in here and fix this game.
Yeah.
But they have to speak up, not us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My thing on that, and not making it sound any type of way, but let's just say and I agree that there needs to be more of a diversity between ownership and stuff like that. It doesn't need to be just one-sided. Now, and a lot of times, and I'm going to use reality television and what I've been seeing, lately. And I don't know if anybody watches the reality show, but I watched Big Brother, this past year this past season, and there had never been an African-American winner in the history of the show. And, 6 people kind of band together, and they were people of color, and they literally took out white people because they were white, because they were not black, to ensure that there was going to be an African American winner there. And I understand the reasoning for that, but I disagree with the way that it was going about, because at that point you want to inspire change, but you're taking out people that are white. So in a way that's causing diversity. So I guess my question would be is, if you bring in, minority ownership, how is that going to technically inspire change? Or are we going to see to where those owners are going to put people of minorities in those seats and not necessarily bring in a colored or a white person if qualified, and it's going to cause more diversity within the league, saying, "Oh, this I'm only bringing in, African Americans. I'm only bringing in, Chinese, or I'm only bringing in Korean owners, or I'm doing this, I'm doing that." Is it something I'm all for it if it's going to get it to the point where we are coming together? But if it's going to cause more diversity, I think that it's going to be a bad situation.
Not cause more diversity, because we want more diversity. I think
I agree.
I think
Pass, let me say something real quick because I gotta head out right now.
Yeah.
So I do
I
want to
actually
say
do as well. I'm gonna follow him once he's done.
Yeah, so I know Nate and Ash are gonna head over, and guys, anybody in the chat, y'all better like up this man Pest stream. You gotta, if you're not already subbed to him, he's at 749. Get him to 1,000.
Thank you.
The goal is to get him to 1,000 by the end of May. I'm sure we can do that. Share out the
Hell
stream
yeah.
and sub everybody up in here.
Sure, whatever.
But yeah, I was just gonna say I agree with what Rob brought up there. That last point. Thank you for having me on, Pest. I'm gonna be over on mine now, and just have a good one, bro.
I appreciate you. Thank you very much, Kush. Have a good one.
And
I'm seeing what R0B is saying, but when you're talking about someone in that higher position of ownership, is now creating that picture that an African American or minority is there, right? I mean, we understand Shad Khan is a minority, whatever the case is, but it gives someone, like, say, an African American. Now the owners have to look at that guy in the face and accept him. So now you're creating that standard as an African American that, okay, this guy can be potentially great. Maybe we can start to trickle down that effect in a way.
We got YouTube Yoda in the building, by the way. I just want to put that out there. We got YouTube Yoda in the building. What's going on, Chris?
Sorry, Vibes, don't mean to interrupt you, but I am going to head out real quick, so I'll get up with you guys later.
Take it easy, Nate.
All right, Nate.
Appreciate you coming on.
What's going on?
What's going on, guys?
I gotta get Ash in here. There's Ash and Fisk. I know what's going on. Fisk, I know you in the background. We gonna get you in here. Just rotating them out. All right, I'm gonna get you in here. Okay. All right. Go ahead, Eli. I'm sorry, I kind of cut you off there for a second.
My fault. I lost track of thought, man. I saw the superstar entertainer walk in, man.
Yeah, listen. YouTube Yoda is here, man.
Yeah, right. We was discussing this yesterday on New York Revival as far as the Rooney Rule is concerned. But again, when you put somebody in a position of power that's at the top there, now you can kind of change the narrative and the perspective of some people, and maybe that'll open the door to give other people opportunities elsewhere as far as a trickle down effect.
Right.
So again, it should start at the top, because everything's supposed to start at the top of leadership, and it should trickle on its way down. So again, it's such. I hate even discussing stuff like this. Because,
it's a tough conversation. It's a tough conversation. Yeah, it's a tough conversation to have.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I can't. You're fading in and out. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I said it's a tough conversation to have. It really is.
It is, but in order to have a conversation for change, we all have to sit and talk about it at a table and make an uncomfortable situation become comfortable.
Absolutely.
And this is something the NFL and the owners have to do going forward. Now, as far as, Brian Flores, he started the process of talking, and I hope this and I'm gonna run after this, but I hope this sparks the mind of most of these owners to sit down and have a real thoughtful conversation about this rule and how they can revamp it and how they can make it better for minority coaches, because again, the game is predominantly minority players. So how can they give them more opportunity? And this is something in the offseason that they have to honestly discuss within themselves and look themselves in the eye and be willing to make that change. And we don't know the answers. And I hope they're able to look at themselves and their billions of dollars in their pocket to make that change to where they can give more minorities a helping hand in this league. But with that being said, thank you so much, Pest, for having me. And guys, hopefully this sparks the conversation of minds of many. This isn't here to divide. This is just here to bring change and to bring awareness to everybody's different perspectives. So thank you so much for your time. I'll talk to you guys soon. Be well.
Absolutely, and
Appreciate you, Eli. Thank you
we
for coming by,
greatly
brother.
we
Peace,
greatly appreciate Eli and Mr. Glass half full representing New York Revival, popping in and having a conversation with us. Greatly appreciate their time. Thank y'all so much for coming through, man. Shout out also to Kush and to Nate. Thank you guys for coming through. Fist Vegas was in the back, but I don't know where he's at. I just messaged him, told him to get his ass back here. Okay.
He said he went to eat dinner.
Yeah, he's eating his Chinese food. Okay. All right, cool. So, I want to start with you, Ash, because I know you've been sitting back, you've been hearing all the things that we've been talking about, and I know you've got some thoughts. How do you feel about this situation? How do you feel about the Rooney Rule? Just give us all your thoughts, man. Unfiltered. Go ahead.
I mean, where do I start? I mean, listen, we all know the Rooney Rule is just. And first, I want to say, can y'all hear me? I have like a new thing on my camera.
Got you, loud and clear.
The Rooney Rule, it's garbage, and I'm just gonna repeat a whole bunch of stuff that was said. You should never cause somebody in any form of business to force somebody to interview a candidate, and really that's on both sides, to be honest. Have somebody sit there and go through a pointless interview, and then on both sides have somebody get dressed up, go to a franchise or something, and sit through a pointless interview, have somebody conduct a pointless interview, and ask these pointless questions where you're not even going to hire them. But what I will say is, and again, the Rooney Rule needs to go in a dumpster somewhere because it's garbage. But my thing is, you guys kind of got on that a little bit, but if we get rid of the Rooney Rule, what do we put in place to make sure that people of minorities get that opportunity? What can we do? Because the Rooney Rule is garbage, but I don't see any other options, to be honest. And that's something that the commissioner, whoever's at the top in that position to do, that's something that they need to figure out. That's something that owners need to, like you said, have a conversation with themselves. And I mean, let's be real, and again, this is a tough conversation that we have to have. Of course, we never want to talk about race and inequality in sports. Sports is something that we all share together, and it's really kind of universal in our own little world that we all, no matter what skin color you are, if you have a love for a certain team or players or whatever, you have that love for it. But unfortunately, it's the world that we live in. That's been a history for a long time, and I'm sure if we could go back in time and keep everything now, we would change all that. But that's just the world we live in, and dudes let's just say dudes that are of my skin color, Pest skin color, they don't really get a fair shake even when they get the job. Like black head coaches, minority head coaches, when you get the job, they're told, or not told, but they're basically, you have to win now. I mean, look at all these, these black coaches, even coaches that really didn't have any success. Todd Bowles for the Jets, he had a good season, and then they fell off, and then they got his ass out of there.
Yeah, old boy with the Cardinals. Guy, I can't believe I can't remember his name. Steve Wilkes. 1 year. 1 year. 1 year.
I'm not saying.
I'm not saying in Texas this year got fired.
Old boy in Texas got fired after 1 year.
David Culley, for some of us, really exceeded all expectations for what we thought.
I think all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We thought Houston was going to finish with 0 wins.
Listen,
he got 4, and Davis Mills was really, in terms of quarterback play, the second best quarterback out of that draft.
Listen. The only black head coach that no one can touch is the one that keeps winning. Like, they can't get rid of him because he keeps winning every fucking year.
Even Mike Tomlin.
But they want to get rid of him. They want to get rid of him, but they can't because he keeps winning.
If Mike Tomlin started off and had 2 losing seasons, they would have got his ass out of there. I'm just being real. So it's like, yeah, we want these top dudes, right? And you know, it's more different because if you're a black owner, you're the dude at the top. But I want to raise a question that why should minority people? I mean, everybody's hungry. Let's be real. Everybody's hungry for an opportunity. But why there? I feel like there's some people. And one of the reasons why we don't see that many minority owners or stuff want to step up to the plate is that they know that they're not going to have a fair shake than other people, and that's just truth. But you know, and again, even me trying to go through this is kind of like really really hard. But they don't get the same chance. They don't get the same chance. They don't have the same expectations. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I thought Brian Flores. The only reason I felt like Brian Flores would work in New York is if he had Deshaun Watson, because he had all these accusations. He was already going up against tough competition. So the easiest way to do that is to have a star quarterback, and of course that if Deshaun Watson would like get clear of all those legal issues, with John Mayer shut that down quickly. So I'm not going to bring that up anymore. But that's the only reason I felt Brian Flores, would have made it, because I felt like people would have asked him to win instantly because he just came off of turning a Miami franchise around, and now people are going to look at him and be like, "Why can't you do that with the Giants?" But yeah, and again, I'm not going to give my stance, or I put out a tweet like this earlier. I said I'm not going to quote unquote take a side until more information comes out. But what I'm hearing, I don't think it's fair for him to sue the Giants. Basically because we interviewed Leslie Frazier, we interviewed Patrick Graham. So I don't get how that aspect of it could be involved in the lawsuit. But the fact that some of the details that came out about Denver and came out about Miami, especially Denver, about like how it was clear that John Elway and whoever was constructing the interview, like they drank the night before, it's just really disappointing to me. But like I said, I'm not going to give I'm not going to choose a side or give my full stance on it until more information comes out.
Okay. Shout out to Giants Nation. Happy birthday to you. Shout out to Viz. Shout out to Wolves. Shout out to Joseph Clark. Shout out to all of you. Chris, what are you thinking, man? What's your thoughts on this?
I mean, first off, thank you for having me on.
Thank you for showing up.
Obviously, I know this is a really sensitive topic, and I was kind of going back and forth to whether or not I should make a video for it, and I ultimately decided to. And obviously, everybody's got a different perspective on this, depending. Everybody's got their own views and their own opinions and everything else. I think the Rooney Rule is a disgrace. If I'm being honest with you, I don't think I think the intentions are good behind it, but it's caused more harm than good. And I'm not saying you need to completely get rid of the Rooney Rule. I don't know the answer, but there needs to be alterations to it. And the fact that, you brought up a good point, Ash, about how, like, when these coaches, especially these African-American head coaches, Coley's a perfect example. I honestly believe this, and we'll never know this for sure. This is just speculation, my opinion. I think the Texans hired Coley to fire him. I think they hired Coley knowing that their situation was so bad. They're like, let's just get a guy for a year, start to fix this thing, and then he's going to be easy to get rid of, and we'll just be able to bring in a better head coach. And I think it was the same thing for Brian Flores. I just think with Flores, he did better than they thought he was going to do, especially when you hear the things that came out that they said that they were trying to pay Brian Flores $100,000 a game to try to tank and lose. I honestly, in my heart, believe the Dolphins didn't think they were going to keep Flores for more than a year, maybe two. Remember the tank for Tua thing? Nobody thought that team was going to win more than a game or two. Dolphins showed a lot of fight. You couldn't get rid of the guy. So I don't think they're presented with as good of an opportunity as possible. In this case for the Giants, in my heart opinion, I don't think this was racially motivated by the Giants.
No, not at all.
I think it was a mistake by the Giants to leak it to a third party. And obviously Bill Belichick coming out made the mistake to leak it to Flores, and I completely understand where Flores is coming from. You're talking about a guy that now has to almost pretend that he thinks he could still get this job, and he has to go unprepared, and he basically if I was him, I'd feel the same way. He probably feels like the only reason he's even there is because of the color of his skin, because they have to fill a quota.
Yeah.
So I completely understand why Brian Flores is pissed off and upset. I don't think it was racially motivated, though. I think the Giants were, because of the stupid rule, they were just trying to fill the quota for having another minority candidate come in.
I mean, they did fill that quota already. That's the thing, is that they had already filled the quota before Flores.
That, but then I looked. It's 2 exterior minority head coaches. Patrick Graham was from within the New York Giants staff. So if I'm reading that correctly, they had to bring in 2 guys from outside the New York Giants organization. That would be Flores and
Flores and Frazier. Yeah.
So I could be wrong on that, but that's how I read it. When I read the definition, it's from outside the organization. So I don't know if Graham qualified.
But wait a minute. Did the Giant, when we hired Joe Judge, who did we interview that was
Chris
black?
Richard, and we brought in Eric Bieniemy.
That's right. Okay. I had to. Yeah. Okay. I remember Eric Bieniemy was one, but I couldn't remember who the other one was. Okay. All right. Yeah. That makes sense. And I mean, it's this is a shit conversation to have. It really is, but it is a very important conversation, which is the reason why I want to have as many people on here to talk about this as possible, of all different backgrounds, because this is essentially how we fix these problems, and the owners are going to have to do what we're doing right now, right? And here's what sucks though, right? Because this owners meeting that is inevitably going to happen is going to be a room full of 32 white guys. Well, 31 white guys, and one is old boy from Jacksonville. What was he from? India?
I think he's from somewhere
or Afghanistan, something like that. Yeah. So 31 white dudes, and then one Arab guy, right? Like I don't know what kind of conversation is going to be had in this room.
Well, I mean, the thing is with this is I agree. I think that the Rooney Rule is a stupid rule. I think that it like Chris said, I think it had good intentions, but it never panned out to being what they intended it to be. I think it's a slippery slope, and I was talking with Chris about this earlier. Like, you don't want to force somebody to bring somebody in, because then you're forcing somebody to do something that they may not want to do. And now at that point, you're talking about forcing guys that own billion-dollar teams to make a decision, and it's their money. So they're the ones that are supplying the entertainment and all the money for the National Football League. It's not the NFL funding these organizations. That's the first thing. The second thing is I think, we were talking about earlier, like, where does it start? I actually think it starts from inside the league right now. Let's look at the Steelers, for instance. Their GM, owner, all retiring. Owner's white, GM was white. They had Mike Tomlin there for almost 20 years now. He's been there. I mean, he's been there for a very, very long time. Maybe not almost 20 years. Now, I disagree with you, Ash. I think that they had every opportunity, if they wanted to get rid of Mike Tomlin at certain points during certain seasons when they went 8-8 and they finished at 500, or maybe they didn't make the playoffs, because there were multiple seasons where they didn't make the playoffs, and they could have every reason to be like, hey, you know what? You've been here a while. We haven't made the playoffs. I think it's time for a change. And we've got AB, we've got Bell, we've got this, we've got that, we've got these weapons. We need to bring somebody in to maybe change things up a bit and maybe get us over the hump. So I think they had every opportunity. You look at the
I didn't. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was saying the first his first actual 2 seasons as a coach.
No, I know that.
His first, if he lost.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying.
No, I get what you were saying with that, but they still had every opportunity if it was any time to get rid of him. When you look at the Baltimore Ravens, you have probably one of the best GMs in Ozzie Newsome, who is black, who played in the National Football League, and John Harbaugh is there, and he's been there for years. My point that I'm getting to is this. I think it's going to take these owners that have people of minorities in positions, whether it be coaches or people within the front office, and organizations like the Giants, who won 2 Super Bowls with Jerry Reese, who was a minority general manager, who also had people of color within the organization. And no shadow of a doubt do I think that the Giants are an anti or a racial type of,
no,
No.
thing
No.
whatsoever. But it's
No,
going to
not
take
at
these
all.
owners to step up and physically say something in these meetings when we get together. Instead of kind of sitting back and not saying anything, they need to be the ones to step up and make the change and step up and say something and whatnot. And the other thing too is that if you open up the doors to bring in minorities from whatever nationality, whatever background to own teams, I'm all for that. But it has to be with the right intentions. And what I mean by that is what I said before. You don't want to go ahead and bring in a minority owner and all they do is hire minorities and they don't hire
Yeah.
any type of white coaches or white people for the front office because then at that point, and I said diversity before, I meant division is what I meant because then at that point you're causing more division within the league. The whole point of doing this is to mix it all together, create diversity between organizations, between white and black or white and Korean or white, whatever nationality you want to be, and create that, not cause more division within the league. That would be the point. And I think that may potentially be a reason why either the league potentially, because maybe they fear that and they don't want that to become part of the symbol. Maybe there are owners that are minorities of whatever background that would have the mindset that if they came in, that's all they would do, and that's why they haven't done it. I don't know what the reasoning would be. It is a sensitive subject, and it is something that we do need to talk about. But at the same point, let's look at this. And I was talking about it earlier. This whole Denver Broncos thing. This was 3 years ago. Why are you now bringing it up 3 years later?
Oh, really?
Why is when he interviewed with the Broncos. This was from 3 years ago. Why is this
Okay.
now coming? Because the Broncos never interviewed Brian Flores this year. So
Yeah, they didn't.
They didn't. This was when they were looking, and this was before Brian Flores got the job with Miami, which was 3 years ago. Why are you now bringing something up about this now? When it comes to Miami, they wanted Tua. I think that Flores wanted Watson. Now
Yeah.
it was portrayed that Watson wanted Tua and the organization wanted Watson. I think it was the other way around, especially with the allegations that Flores and Watson were in constant communication and they wanted to work up some type of package deal, i.e. Flores coming to the Giants, talks about Watson coming to the Giants. So I think that there was an issue where he pushed for Watson. They didn't want Watson. And I think that caused the division within the locker room because at that point, you have a quarterback that you just spent a first-round pick on that is his second year in the league, actually going in and being the starter, and you're trying to get another quarterback. And mind you, when all of those allegations were coming out leading up to the trade deadline, Tua was playing some pretty good fucking football. He really was playing well for them. And it was and you could see their offense take a step down when he got hurt. So this whole situation, and I'm not sitting here trying to say that Brian Flores is making all of this up. I just and again, we have to wait for the facts to come out. But the fact is I look at things from an outsider's perspective. 3 years ago with Denver, now you get this whole Watson thing, and it's hard for you to deny that when there are other reports that you were trying to go ahead and bring Watson with you as a package deal. I'll even go one further. The only reason why Houston's interviewing him is to try to keep Watson in Houston. That was the only reason why Flores got the interview. Now, I don't necessarily think that they were going to bring him in because they thought, hey, we want you to make Mills our guy. They were trying to rectify with the quarterback that they just gave over $100 million. And who best to do that? They sit down in a meeting with Flores. Hey, is there any chance that you could talk to Watson? We bring you in, you talk to him, maybe you get him to come in and we rectify this and we could try to pursue for a championship. And then I think, and I was telling Chris earlier, I think that when they got to the point where they could cut Watson and get out of it, Flores would go with him. Flores and the quarterback would be gone. That was the only reason why I think Flores was interviewed by Houston. And I think that was going to be the only reason why he was going to get the job. And he still might get the job, potentially. I doubt it, especially now. But that
Yeah, I think his head coaching.
His career
I
is
think
done.
his head coaching window is gone.
I think it's a wrap for Flores.
Career is gone. I don't think he'll ever coach again in the league.
No.
And that's like, to me, that's like, is that really? And let's just say all of this comes out to being false accusations. We've never heard of Miami being a crooked organization. We've never heard of them, doing anything outside, at least to my knowledge and my remembrance. Pest, you're older than me. You've been watching football a lot longer than I have, so I don't know if you know that. And, I mean, we all have, as far as with Denver, Pat Bowlen was probably one of the most amazing general managers and owners and was known and respected all throughout the National Football League. May he rest in peace.
Yeah.
And I think John Elway, in any way, shape, or form, is nowhere near to a point where his best friend was Terrell Davis, who was a man of color. Shannon Sharp, another man of color. He gave up money in the 1997 season to bring in Neil Smith, who was a man of color, to bring in to win a championship. So this whole accusations and all this stuff is so crazy. And I feel like it's just it's sad that we are in this state, not just in football, but just in the world, to where people can't. I'm all for, and I agree that there is inequality in certain areas of this life. And when I say that, I mean it with color and I mean it with sex as well. I feel like women don't get proper opportunities and are held back. I feel people of color in some instances are held back. But at the same point, there are people that are out there that are women and that are minorities that I feel play this card way too much. And they play that card and they play it, and it really takes away the attention from when the card really, really, really needs to be played. And when it really needs to be played and that card is put on the table, everybody's calling, just like the game bullshit, everybody's calling a bluff. And it's not right. It's sad. It's disappointing. And I feel like that's something like what this could potentially be. This could be really taking away and distracting from something that is important.
Well, I don't
be a severe issue.
And I don't mean to cut you off, Rob. I don't necessarily think this is something that's distracting or taking away from anything that's important, because this is important, right? We're talking about a situation here where we don't have enough people that look like the vast majority of the people that play the game as the coach or as a general manager or in the front office. I mean, like, it is a thing. It's a thing that's happening, okay?
Yeah.
We don't have enough. Now, I want to believe in my heart of hearts that it's not because, these owners look at these players as just, chess pieces, right? I really want to believe that the reason why there's not enough black people that are head coaches or in front offices is because there's not a big enough sample size of black people willing to go and take that chance. I want to believe that, but I also know that's probably not true. Like, I also know it's probably not true.
And I just want to say something, like, just an idea that it comes to mind. I feel like we, and just like a lot of people, we need to stop treating, and I'm not saying anybody does, I'm just saying, like, when we talk about players, we need to stop treating these players like they're objects or property. Like, these players have voices. And what I'm thinking, why Rob, while you're saying that, and Pest, while you were saying, I'm just thinking, like, why haven't we heard anything from these players if this was really an issue that they felt like should be addressed?
Yeah, that's a good point.
These players, they're not. So that's what I'm saying. Like,
Chris is right. Said money.
Yeah, that's
it's that fucking money.
It's a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? It's a lot of scenarios and stuff. But that's just something I came up thinking about. Is like, because we have a players association.
That's a good ass point.
They speak about the vaccine, and they speak about what was that thing they spoke about? something like 2 years ago where Patrick Mahomes, I forgot what it was. Was it the cancellation? It had something to do with COVID, but it was like the cancellation of the season or something like that. Something like that is off the top of my head that I forgot. But I feel like if we have players, and Chris, you did the money signal, but sometimes these players they do speak out no matter what the money is.
Yeah, but why haven't they spoke out about this? Because we haven't heard
that's
any
what I'm
players say anything about this at all ever. Why not? They speak out about everything else. Why are they not speaking out about
That's what I'm
this?
saying.
You know, I don't know if you guys have ever watched it, but there's a podcast that Fred Taylor, Brandon Marshall, Chad Johnson. And I can't remember the fourth person who does the show. And there was an episode where Brandon Marshall got extremely passionate, looked like he was getting upset, but they were talking about, I think they were talking about Russell Wilson. And it kind of fits with what Chris just did as far as with the money sign. A lot of these guys, they get paid the big bucks, and that's really all that they care about is the money aspect. And
what I will say is, it may not be all they care about, but they don't.
It's the most important thing.
They don't want it ruined.
It's the most
important opinion or political opinion.
It's the most important thing is the money.
Yeah, to influence their
exactly.
And I'm not accusing him of doing this, but when I talk about things like this, I think about Michael Jordan. I think about LeBron James. Michael Jordan, you could say he was smart. You could say he was all about the bottom dollar. Michael Jordan stayed out of politics.
Everything.
He stayed out of sharing his opinion on social topics. He kept it business oriented. It was all about the bottom line. It was all about the dollar. He didn't want to affect his public image. LeBron James is the complete opposite. And a lot of times he's destroyed for that, for sharing his political opinion. I respect him. I don't always agree with everything he says. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I think he's out of line. I do respect him for having the guts to do that. But sometimes I think he's out of line personally, just with some of the things that he has to say. I'm not saying I agree with some of it. I disagree with some of it. You know, it's opinions at the end of the day. But yeah, I think that's a perfect example. Jordan was all about the dollar. And I think a lot of players think that way, where they don't want it to affect their livelihood. Colin Kaepernick, for example, there's a perfect example. Mm-hmm. There's a guy that came out, he was trying to stand for something that he thought that he had the platform to do so. And we'd be lying to ourselves right now if you can't admit that Colin Kaepernick got blackballed by the NFL.
Oh, I mean, yes.
Colin Kaepernick could have absolutely still played in the league. Now, for people that say he was a back-end starter, he probably was at that point, but you can't convince me that Colin Kaepernick was not good enough to remain in the NFL. And I think players see things like that and coaches see things like that, and they're like, I don't want it to affect my livelihood. And I think that has a lot to do with it as well.
Yeah. Well, and to that point too, and kind of piggybacking off of, what Ash was saying too, it's like when this whole Colin Kaepernick thing started, everybody and their mother started taking a knee, players, everything like that. And that caused a huge uproar within the National Football League to the point where people were starting to get fined. But then what happened? The fine stopped, the league listened, and allowed players to do what they wanted to do. So like what Ash was saying, if players felt this way, players felt like they were just an object, if they felt like they were being racially judged or profiled or not given the opportunities, they could do the same thing that they did, like they did with the kneel, and come out and say something. Not only that, but you have so many African Americans or minorities that are in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, that are a part of that committee, that have a large say inside the National Football League. You don't think that these players that are meeting and getting together, that a person of color is going to go and talk to Michael Irvin, Chris Carter, Shannon Sharp? They're not going to have these conversations with these guys and express, hey, I'm feeling like this, I'm feeling like that, and having this on a multiple level to the point now where they can maybe bring it up and do something. It's at this point, I think that people, at the end of the day, we always say about a player, go get your money, especially if you're a good player. Go get your payday, take care of yourself, support your family. Your family and you is what matters. But at the same point, people have to also understand, and what Brandon Marshall was getting upset about is that they chose that But when stuff really needed to be spoken out about, they chose that over speaking out. So don't go crying about something when you didn't speak out when you could have. And I get what he's saying. And at that same point, you're asking somebody to make a pretty big decision, and they have to think about that. I think if it was as so severe, I think that these men, because they're men, these men, especially older veteran guys, would make a decision if it was right to stick up for inequality or anything of that nature going on with inside organizations and players that they know around the league that were going on in other ball clubs. I think that they would, they would definitely say something. But the fact that they're not and they're sticking quiet, I don't necessarily think it's because of the money. Could partially be that. I don't think that there is. I don't think there is anything that's going on to show that there is any type of diversity within the ball clubs, from owners, coaches to players. Otherwise, we would be hearing about it. So
Yeah.
it's crazy to think about. It sucks. And look at what we're doing right now. Like, we should be rejoicing that we have a new GM, that we have a new head coach, about the possibilities of this. And to me, it just seems somebody that didn't come in with a plan, from what I heard, had no plan for offense in the interview. Did not have a plan. Didn't come in with a game plan on what you wanted to do. And somebody did, and they beat you out, and because you didn't get what you wanted because you're from Brooklyn, you wanted to make a stink about it and go and attack a ball club from 3 years ago and say something about Miami, and then bring in our organization and say that we did something, which is just crazy to me. This is crazy.
I think bringing in the racial aspect for the Giants specifically, he was out of line in my opinion.
100%.
I don't think it was racial. I really don't. I don't think the Giants instance was racial. I think it was the Giants had to abide by the stupid rule. And unfortunately, he fell victim to that. I understand why he's upset about the situation, but I don't think it was racially motivated by the Giants. The Denver thing, that's pretty friggin' bad. And,
Denver thing is a little questionable. I won't lie.
John Elway does have a history of drinking a lot. I mean, he does have a history of that. And to throw a wrench in this too with the Giants thing, who's to say that the Giants didn't contact Bill about Dable, because he was there for 5 years, and say, hey, what do you think, or whatever? There's no question that Bill still talks with the Giants organization
all the time.
He loves
all the
that
time.
franchise
all the time.
I mean, I'm surprised, and people around the league are surprised that he's not a part of the Giants. And when Tom Brady left, that he didn't pick up the phone and said, fuck you, Joe, I'm going to New York. That's where I want to go. But there's no chance that they're not reaching out to him and talking to him. And maybe based upon that conversation, like I think it was either Nate or Ash that said it, that it wasn't like, hey, you got it. It looks like you got it. Meaning like he thought he was talking to Dable. He didn't say, oh, Dable's got it.
Yeah.
You've got it.
I mean,
like you've got it.
Even during the week, there were reports about Dable.
That could have been a judge that he made based upon the questions that they were asking him and how they felt about him.
I'm gonna say this real quick, and then I got to dip. PTA, I appreciate you for having me on.
For sure.
And Tanner's always nice. And Rob's always nice talking to you guys.
Of course.
But I just want to say this about like the whole Giants race aspect of it. People got to understand, like, yeah, the Giants never had a black quarterback, but people don't really understand like how good the Giants were at really like bringing in and really inheriting their own quarterbacks. Like, yeah, I would love a black quarterback. I'm sure, like, I would love a Deshaun Watson-esque or Patrick Mahomes-esque that can work with his, I'm tired of the age with, like just the, even though Eli Manning was like one of the best to do it, I'm tired of just like the pocket passer, right? But the Giants have been through years of great quarterback play. We've been through almost, 17 years of Eli?
18
years of Eli. I mean, Eli's all I've known my whole life, so I don't know how many years of Phil Simms, but I do know that
Phil
we've
Simms,
had
Jeff
Phil
Hostetler,
Simms for some years.
Kerry Collins was very good. Kurt
Even
Warner, Kurt Warner was here.
YA, you know, so we've had
YA
a good
Tittle,
history of,
yeah.
and even with the coaches, Bill Parcells for a good amount of time, Tom Coughlin for a long amount of time.
And hey, Eli got benched for Geno Smith.
He sure did.
Yeah,
he sure did.
Yeah, I don't really count that, but you know that was just.
I mean, Geno Smith is a bum, but he did get benched for Geno Smith.
That was Ben McAdoo being a dumbass, but it's not like the Giants had many opportunities in the 21st century like some of these other teams had. I mean, we had Tom Coughlin since 2003, 2002, 2004. Yeah, so I don't really get to see why. I see people on Twitter, you know, talking about that, saying that, oh, rah, we never had a black quarterback, never had a black coach. We never really had the opportunity to. If you want to question the Pat Shurmur, Joe Judge hirings, fine, all power to you. But to say in the history, it's a shame that we've never had a black this. We had a good. That's like saying, rah, and this is on a whole nother level. But that's like saying, rah, the Packers are ashamed because they never had a black quarterback. When it's been through years of Aaron Rodgers,
New England. I know just a couple of games, but the same thing. The same thing with New England. Same thing with the Colts. Played there a couple of games, but same thing with the Colts. The same, you know. So, yeah, you bring up a great point. Like we all know, like if you're being honest with yourself, in the '80s, the entire NFL was racist when it came to the black quarterback.
Yes,
right? I mean,
very
in the league, so
very
the Giants are part of that, but every team was like that. And then from that point forward, Eli Manning was the guy from 2004 up until in 2019. So you're talking, like you said, 16, 17, whatever years, they didn't have an opportunity to take a quarterback. And the year in which they took Eli Manning, there was no black quarterbacks to take. It was Ben Roethlisberger, Phillip Rivers, or Eli Manning.
Yep.
True. Terry Collins was a fine stopgap from 99 until Eli. So where's the argument there? To me, that's just a silly argument.
It's silly.
It's race baiting.
It's absolutely silly. Yeah, it's
specific argument.
Okay, so we've been going about an hour 40. I don't want to keep you guys much longer. I know Ash has to get out, and I don't have enough money to keep paying Chris to be here any longer. So I just want to ask just a very quick rapid fire question to each of you, and the question is this: who are you thinking about as the offensive coordinator of New York Giants? Ash, go.
All right, I'll say this and then I'll dip out. But I really like Pep Hamilton. I do. I really like him. But I think, and I know this is it should be a one answer, but I'm gonna throw in another answer with Mike Kafka.
Kafka's good too,
And with these, and it's the same thing I said about Brian Flores, where it was another reason I didn't really want to hire him, or I wasn't really in favor of hiring him over Dable. When you hire Brian Dable, you only have to worry about the defensive side of the ball, right? When you hire Brian Flores, you have to, put your faith in positional coaches to be that offensive coordinator to call those plays. Now with Brian Dable, we're fine with bringing in a positional coach because he's an offensive-minded, coach, and we assume that he's going to be calling the plays. I really wish we got Ken Dorsey, but I didn't really see why he would come to New York, to be honest, outside of the money aspect. I mean, you're calling plays for Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs. You're going to be contending for a Super Bowl every year.
You're going to be a head coach candidate. You're going to be a head coach candidate in like 3 years.
Yeah, really, probably in a year, to be honest, with some teams. But in terms of your question, I'm going to have to go with Pep Hamilton. I really like Pep Hamilton, and I really like some of the stuff he's been doing over the years. Mike Kafka would be a close second for me if we didn't get Pep Hamilton. It looks like Pep Hamilton wants to stay with Houston, but we'll see about that. Nothing like a little bit more cheddar, bring you out of that disgrace of Houston. With that being said, I'm gonna peace out. I got a Hub asked me to come over to this stream.
Go ahead.
This afternoon.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, Pest, you old geezer.
Yeah, look how good I look. Look how good I look, though.
This is a pleasure talking to you, Rob. I appreciate you. Thank you for your points. It was a pleasure talking to you. Peace, y'all.
Appreciate you, Ash. Okay, Chris. Offensive coordinator candidate. Who you want? Who are you picking?
Same answer for me. I mean, I think it's down to. They said 3 guys today. They said it was O'Shea, Hamilton,
Pep, and
Kafka.
Kafka. Yeah.
I think Pep Hamilton's the right. I mean, I'd be happy with Kafka too. Like he said, Kafka's been with the Chiefs now for a number of years, and has been the quarterbacks coach since Pat Mahomes has been there. So, hope obviously he's picked up some knowledge. He's coached for Andy Reid as well, who I think is one of the greatest offensive minds, if not the greatest offensive minds in football since I've been watching the sport. So that's good as well. But I think I'd prefer Pep Hamilton for the simple reason the guy is. I mean, you look at what he's been able to do with some of the quarterbacks he's coached.
He's amazing.
Davis Mills last year. I mean, Davis Mills was a 67th overall pick. He looked really good. He was probably the second best rookie quarterback in the NFL last year with very little help on that Houston roster. Andrew Luck coached him at Stanford, coached him with the Colts, and then of course Justin Herbert in 2020. So I think we need a lot of, we need a guy that can mold a young quarterback, whether that's Jones or whether that's the guy that will replace Jones in 2023 if Jones doesn't work out. So for me, I think Pep Hamilton makes the most sense.
Okay. Rob, what are you thinking?
I mean, for me, I'm kind of with the other guys as well. Pep Hamilton, Kafka, if they come in, I'm gonna throw a monkey in the wrench too, and I'd like to see them maybe reach out to him if they can bring him in. I'd call Jim Caldwell. I'd call Jim Caldwell and have him bring in. You see what he was able to do with Andrew Luck. Go to a playoff game.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, he worked with Peyton Manning. You saw how he operated when he went to Baltimore and when they made him the offensive coordinator and how that offense opened up. He's been a head coach now for the Colts. He was a head coach for the Lions. Arguably, probably shouldn't have even lost his job with the Lions. Just didn't have the pieces in place to really, kind of produce. And that's probably due to the organization and just how they run it and the free agents and drafting that they do. That would be somebody that I would be contacting and saying, hey, why don't you come on? Why don't you come over? Help me, grow this young quarterback, mold this young quarterback. And I think that would be somebody that, because from what it sounds like, it doesn't sound like Joe wants Brian to be calling plays. If he has to, he will. But it doesn't sound like Joe wants him to. It sounds like Joe wants him to be the head coach. Not that he can't oversee the offense and make the decisions and be part of the game plan for putting the offensive scheme together, but he doesn't want him being distracted. He wants him on the sidelines, being able to manage the time, manage the timeouts, manage the challenges, things of that nature. Jim Caldwell would be somebody that you could come in and I think ultimately really out of everybody that we've named have the most comfortable capability that he could call the plays and you wouldn't have to worry about, what's he going to do? It's not something that you'd have to question or you'd have to, that he'll know what he's going to do and he'll take that role on, perfect. So that would be somebody that I would call. That would be like my wild card that I'd be bringing in. But any one of the other guys, would be good. The guy with Houston, he did great with Mills, and he's got some experience around the league. So we'll see what we'll see what happens.
All right, I think we're all in agreement. I like Pep Hamilton too. I like Kafka as well. Jim Caldwell is a very good name to throw in there. I didn't even think about that, but that's a very good name to throw in there. And we're gonna have to kind of wait and see, right? They're still doing the thing where they're talking to people and figuring it out. So I'm sure we'll probably hear some news about that maybe by the end of the week, beginning of next. I would think. I think that it's a shame. It's a shame that we couldn't get Dorsey. I thought Dorsey would be good. Just in terms of familiarity and them being able to just kind of work their scheme that they've been doing. But there's plenty of talented folks out there, and I'm sure with the momentum that the New York Giants have in this offseason, this was always a place that people wanted to come work, even though we suck, right? People want to come work for the New York Football Giants. It's New York, okay? If you come here,
it's the Giants.
Listen, if you come here and you fix this team, you're a fucking god. Yeah. You're a god. And you're a god everywhere, not just in New York. You're a god everywhere. Tom Coughlin went to Jacksonville and fell on his damn face. He's still a god around the league.
And he brought a team. I mean, let's not remember, Tom Coughlin brought a team that was in their first year to the conference championship against the Super Bowl favorite Denver Broncos and beat them in the conference championship game or the divisional round. So, or wild card round, or something like that. So let's not forget, Tom Coughlin did that, and he did it twice. They went to games with the Jaguars. With Jacksonville Jaguars against Denver. They did it twice. So, that's just an amazing, foot there. And, it's it's crazy, bro. Like we really should be talking about right now plans. I don't think that Patrick Graham is going to be going anywhere, even though the picks. I'd be interested to get the picks when I find out about that. I'm kind of like,
Minnesota kept him.
Maybe you should get that Minnesota job. Listen, just a little bit.
Yeah, but look, but Minnesota kept that man in the building for 9 hours today. 9. He was in the building for 9 hours today.
They kept Pat Graham in there for 9 hours.
He was there for 9 hours today, bro.
He's probably going to get the job.
I mean, Harbaugh's going there tomorrow. Harbaugh's going there tomorrow, so you might want to be careful, but. They kept this man in the building for 9 hours. You don't keep somebody in the building for 9 hours that's a Rooney Rule guy. Like, you want that guy there.
If you're flying in Jim Harbaugh, though, like they said they're going to do on Wednesday, if he wants the job,
they're going to probably give it to him.
Jim Harbaugh is legit. I mean, in my opinion, I knew it was never going to happen. But.
I'm just trying to wonder, like, what about Minnesota would be attractive to Jim Harbaugh? Like, Kirk Cousins doesn't, unless he – it's hard for me to read because I don't know if Jim Harbaugh really wanted to have Colin Kaepernick play, if that's his style of quarterback, or if Alex Smith was his style of quarterback.
Wait a minute. Minnesota is super attractive, bro. It's super fucking attractive. Think about this for a second. Okay? The Bears are in shambles and are probably going to remain in shambles. The Lions are non-existent, and the Green Bay Packers are probably getting ready to fall the fuck apart. Okay.
Yeah, but I don't necessarily think that the Green Bay Packers are going to fall completely apart. I think that with a full offseason.
Wait. Hold on. This is something very important that I have to say. It's something very important. Hi, Nikki. I haven't seen you in so long. I'm so glad to see you, Nikki. What's going on with you? I'm sorry, Rob. It was just very important that I had to do it. It's very important.
I don't see, unless he feels like Kirk Cousins would be his guy, but with that team, I feel like, again, they're in a similar situation where they're going to have to make some pretty hard decisions. You got Harrison Smith, you got to make a decision on Anthony Barr, you got to make a decision on. I don't think they'll be able to keep both wide receivers with Justin Jefferson and the other guy. I can't think of his name right now. It's escaping me. Number 19, Adam something or whatever.
Thielen.
Adam Thielen. Yeah, I don't think they'll be able to keep Adam Thielen as well. So they're going to have to make some choices, and that offensive line isn't the greatest either. So I think it's going to depend on where they think they have the most opportunity to succeed. Not that Kirk Cousins didn't play bad, but maybe they feel like Patrick Graham would be a little bit better to maximize the defense, because that's where they have a lot of their veteran guys. Bring him in and maximize the defense. You bring in an offensive guy that can at least electrify your offense a little bit, and maybe they feel like, he's the better person. And then we bring in a guy like a Nick Fangio or something like that or whatever to run the defense and to do that. I've been saying it all along, though. Whatever they're going to do, they have to figure out and get it done now. It's February 1st. I mean, free agency is opening up in a month and a week. The
Senior Bowl's right now too. So
Senior Bowl's happening this weekend. So you're going to be going there. I mean, Joe Shane's already there. I mean, he was already looking at practices. I love that. But you got to be ready to make some decisions. They got to be able to figure it out, and they can't make any decisions until they get the coaching staff in place. They got to figure out what defensive guy they're going to have in, if it's going to be Graham or somebody else, what players he thinks he can utilize, what scheme does he want to utilize, and everything like that. And so I personally think that, Joe said he wanted to free up $40 million. We talked about it earlier. I said they can free up about 63.4 by making some cuts, restructuring some contracts. I think everybody's pretty much on the table right now as far as being either cut or traded. I would even go to the extent of saying Leo and KG could be on the chopping block as well. And they could just take the loss, take the money, and that would be it. But I think they're going to try to make a move for a guy like Brandon Sheriff or Lakin Tomlinson from the offensive line. And I think they're going to bring in Jerry Hughes. I think Jerry Hughes is a free agent this year from Buffalo. He knows the system. I think he'll be able to come in, help, kind of guide the type of culture that Joe and Brian want to kind of implement. I could see them bringing Jerry Hughes over because they're familiar with him. And I could see them going ahead and signing a free agent, whether it be a center or a guard. Not necessarily a Ryan Jensen, but like maybe a Ben Jones, who's been with Houston. He's been with Tennessee. He's a veteran guy. They could probably get him for somewhat cheap, where Ryan Jensen's coming off of I think he had a Pro Bowl year. He's playing with Tom Brady, former Super Bowl champion. He's probably going to be a little bit higher priced. And they could probably draft somebody, like a Cross, or they get a guy like Evan Neal if he can fall down, or if he could drop. So you could very easily make a change. And you got 2 first-round picks. So if you can think about this for a second. If we can land, because I think we'll have the money to do it. If we can land a guy like Brandon Sheriff, or even Lakin Tomlinson for that matter, and you're able to get Evan Neal, and I believe I'm saying is and Lindenbaum, and put him at center, put Lakin or Brandon at guard. You draft Neal to play guard, and then you give Matt Parrott a try at right tackle or something like that, or maybe you look at a free agency, or you could draft a tackle in a later round, a second round or a third round. You draft a tackle. I'd be completely fine with that.
I would be in love.
Oh, we'd all
that would be perfect.
Okay, so
I think we can afford either one of those guys.
You know what? I think that because this is the second time I've heard you say this, Rob, and I agree with it again. Like, y'all know me. I want the trenches. I want the trenches to be good. That's just who I am. And we absolutely have an opportunity to do that. So here's the deal. We are getting ready to hit the 2-hour mark. And I'm not gonna keep you guys any longer. What you should do is after you leave here, you should go to Cush's stream, okay, and go show him some love and hit the thumbs up on his chat. I would give Chris the Entertainer the opportunity to plug his stuff, right? But he should be giving us the opportunity to plug our stuff now that he's here, because Chris the Entertainer is the GOAT, all right? He's apparently super Hollywood now, right? He's got beat reporters coming to his channel, kicking it with him. I barely recognize the man anymore. Like I want to go ahead and say this right now, Chris. I'm so proud of what you're doing. I'm so proud of what you're accomplishing. I think it's amazing. I'm just in awe to know that you have been one of my teachers in this YouTube thing, and I'm just happy to see you win, man. I'm just happy. As Authentic would say, I just want to see you win. So thank you very much, Chris, for coming and hanging out. Everybody, please make sure that you go and sub up the Entertainer if you haven't, but you already have, right? Because who doesn't sub to Chris the Entertainer? Make sure you go in and you're showing love to Rob, okay, R0B on Twitch. Make sure that you're showing him love on his YouTube channel, which didn't you just drop a video, Rob?
I haven't dropped a video in a couple of days.
It was a couple of days ago you dropped a video?
I'm due for a few videos, obviously with what just transpired today and a couple of things. So, yeah, I've been uploading a lot of Giants content on the video. So if you guys could go ahead and check it out, subscribe, like it, leave comments, any type of improvement or anything like that, I'd be happy to have the criticism. But, yeah, so we're grinding. If we hit 100 subscribers on the YouTube, giving away a $15 gift card of your choice.
Dope. So. Now, Chris, I know that on Friday you're going to be hanging with Patricia Traynor, but you got anything else crazy coming up this week?
No, man, just gonna continue to talk Giants whenever there's something worth talking about. It's gonna be a busy offseason. I'm sure there's gonna be some stuff on the Senior Bowl. I'm sure I'll talk about that. Definitely want to get you guys on the channel. Once there's something relevant worth talking about. Not that this isn't relevant.
Absolutely, I'm waiting for Justin Pinnock to give me some breaking news. God damn it, he hasn't given me shit.
You might have better luck getting in for Pat Leonard.
No.
Pat Leonard.
Pat Leonard. If I want to be wrong, I'll get it from Pat Leonard.
That is the one beat reporter I can't stand. Is Pat?
Maybe
Leonard.
we should have hired him as our offensive line coach.
I mean, I don't know a ton about him, but just the fact that he's got ties to the Bills, I was happy with the O-line coach. Just because you got to figure that there's going to be some stability there. They're not going to move off of him after 1 year, which has been a huge problem with the O-line coach in recent history. So I was happy. Not that I even looked at him before they hired him, but I was happy that I knew that he had ties to Shane and Dable.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah, you know what, man? This stream has been so damn good, and I'm so happy that we were able to put this together, especially with this very, very hard conversation that we need to have. I'm so glad that I got a handful of black guys, handful of white guys, because I think it's very important that all of our opinions are heard, even if we don't agree. Okay, to anybody that's in the chat, do not live in an echo chamber. Okay, talk to people who don't agree with you. Okay, talk to people who agree with you, but also disagree with you at the same time. Don't just talk to people that agree with you. Okay, because there's no growth, there is no change, there is no fixing anything if everybody's in agreement. Some of the greatest ideas have come from debate. All right, so hopefully everyone that was here today, we gave you something to think about. We gave you something to chew on. And who knows, man? Maybe one day we won't have to have this conversation anymore. So again, thank you to Chris, the entertainer, talking sports, YouTube Yoda, and some other names that I'll call him in private. Some other names I'll call him in private. And as always, I've been Pest the Analyst. This has been Rob R0B Gaming. And we going to get ready to slide on out of here. So everybody take care. Have a great week. We will all have some content for y'all later on. And we'll get up with you guys later. Y'all take care. Deuces.